My name is Ksenia Orlova, and for 9 years now I've been helping my clients. And not just to park their money in Thailand or relocate themselves, their families, their businesses, and even their phobias. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and international business from Auckland University of Technology in New Zealand. I also started my career there in the restaurant industry. It sounds fancy for a resume, of course, but in reality, I was just looking for a job closer to food and a paycheck I could blow on going out. But really, what more does a student need to be happy? Honestly, working as a waiter is one of the best ways to start out if you want to go into sales. Well, in my opinion, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and action. First, you learn to sell the basic need for food, and only after that, everything else. And of course, you really build up your stress resistance. Even if you're in a bad mood or don't feel like it, you still have to smile. I'm from a small town called Dalmagorsk. Population of 40,000 in the northeast of Primorsky Krai city, known for its thieving ores, UFO sightings, and tigers. Hello, Dalmagorsk. Then a boarding school for gifted children in Vladivostok, university in Auckland, then studying in Shanghai. And already from China, I flew to Thailand in 2015. The first year was a bit here and there. I sold restaurant equipment, cars, cosmetics, and taxi services. And in 2016, because of a big girlish love, I got into real estate. The love faded, but Thai real estate stayed in my heart. And as you can see, it's still there to this day. Until 2020, I worked only in the Pattaya market. During COVID, I started exploring Bangkok. Everyone said it was bold, and honestly, it still is. For many of our people, this product is still a mystery. What kind of beast is this? It's Bangkok real estate. But I went straight into the foreign market. And Russian-speaking clients just started coming on their own. I really love bringing together a Russian-speaking community around me. I'm always happy to share. My successes, of course, but honestly, I'm even more eager to share my failures, because let's be real, we all love to hear when things aren't going so well for the neighbor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my experience and perspective on the real estate market in Thailand, and Bangkok in particular. When you mention investing in Thailand, a lot of people picture a hammock, a coconut, and a little house on the beach. But let's remember for a second, we're in Bangkok. There are no hammocks or sea here. Well, okay, there's a little bit of water, but the main thing here is the industrial capacity, financial centers, and the unique trends of the market. And most of my clients' questions are about profitability, liquidity, and strategy, and only after that do they ask about the sunset view. Although, to be honest, the view does play a big role too. The difference in price between apartments with a view and those without in the same complex can reach up to 20%. So what are people looking for? Let's go through it step by step. First of all, of course, people want to park their money and sleep soundly at night. These are liquid condos in the center of Bangkok, close to the BTS or MRT, and strictly within the foreign quota. That very 49% for full ownership. The square footage, layout, and developer, all of it needs to be such that in a couple of years you can sell without tiers or discounts just so someone will take it. Budgets in this category average from $150,000 to $600,000. Second, it's a distant country house or a place to spend the winter. If you have kids, schools and healthcare are important. And all of that is about Bangkok. If you want a villa with a pool so you can hit the beach first thing in the morning, well, that's definitely Phuket. Pattaya is for those who want something more budget-friendly and aren't afraid that the sea will be, let's say, a bit livelier. Third, it's about investments. Off-plan. You get in at an early stage when the developer still offers discounts and you have options to choose from. The main thing is a reliable developer, installment payments, and a clear payment schedule. Discounts at the start can reach up to 15%. Yes, you're basically buying pictures, but if you don't take risks, you won't earn that extra return at the start. The exit is an assignment of rights with a profit. In real-life cases in Bangkok, that's another 15 to 20% over 2 to 3 years if you pick the right project. All in all, you can make up to 30% from a single project with a relatively low entry cost and without doing anything. Rental yields in Bangkok are 4 to 5% gross, while in Phuket they're higher if you rent legally and short-term. Fourth, there are branded residences and lifestyle complexes. These are for those who want to have it all at once without any hassle. Service, status, management, and later an easy resale. And finally, the fifth is the corporate story. Housing for top managers, the office plus apartment format. Have you watched the series Billions? remember, the penthouse, Bobby Axelrod's place. That's the kind of lifestyle people want here. Top managers. And of course, that's totally possible. There's plenty of real estate. And with our help, of course, it's all absolutely possible to find. How have clients' requests changed? I would say that COVID and the events that followed have driven non-professional investors out of the market. Those who bought on impulse just because their friend did. In their place, there's now a larger share of clients looking for a second home in a convenient transportation hub with decent infrastructure, schools, healthcare, and access to other Asian countries. Before COVID, everything was fine. It was simpler and more emotional. The number one request was a straightforward condo flip. A studio or one-bedroom format, so it would be cheap and easy to sell. Location? Well, something like downtown. Floor plans? And whatever, we won't be living there ourselves. It often ended with the phrase, "Yeah, just grab these two while they're still available." The main thing was to grab something near the station and cash out in 2 years. Relocation was almost non-existent. Thailand was more about vacations, the sea, and shorts than about a second home. There was interest in Bangkok, but the image of palm trees and beaches often won people over. Investors were heading for resort locations. Rental yields were calculated by word of mouth. If the agent said 8%, then it's 8%. Why bother checking? After COVID, everything became more serious and thoughtful. The share of relocation deals shot up sharply. Now it's families who need schools and healthcare, entrepreneurs, freelancers, IT specialists, people looking for community and society. Everyone who can work from anywhere in the world and values Bangkok as a convenient and safe place. A second home. Flipping has become less common, and now it's done more consciously. Neighborhoods, projects, layouts, surroundings, all of this is being studied. The emotion is still there, but now it goes hand in hand with a calculator. Here's my recommendation for flipping. Family 2-bedroom apartments, 60+ square meters with open views on the middle golden floors at the pre-sale stage. Got that down. In 2024, there was a slight decline. Sanctions and difficulties with money transfers still slowed down transactions. But already in 2025, we're seeing growth, and the number of deals have increased by 3 to 4% with more and more buyers. Focusing on rental investments. In Bangkok, the yield from long-term rentals stays at around 4 to 5%, and with the right approach, you can reach up to 10% like at the resorts. Russian clients are increasingly choosing stable properties for long-term leasing. The main goal is to show profitability and earn income from assets outside of Russia. In the premium segment, there are strong Chinese and Burmese buyers, but Russians are coming back and consistently rank among the top nationalities choosing Thailand. Rentals in Bangkok rely on tourists, corporate clients, and expats. Seasonality is mild, but the project still needs to be attractive to tenants. All year round. Transportation, infrastructure, service, furnishings. And there has been a steady demand for branded residences in complexes with hotel services. Of course, the budget is $1 million plus. For the investor, it's liquidity and easy management. For the tenant, it's comfort and status. And for me, it's satisfied clients. COVID and subsequent economic events in the world have become a kind of filter. Before it was emotion, impulse, yes, these two. After, it's strategy, numbers, and long-term planning. And honestly, working with this kind of client is much more interesting. Honestly, there's a very simple explanation for this. Entry price, quality of life, and stability. Everything else is just details. Compared to Dubai, in Bangkok, you can get a good apartment in a condominium in an area where you can both live and rent it out, starting from $110,000. In Dubai, a comparable property in a similar location starts from $270,000. That's a twofold difference, and that's just the starting point. Visas in Thailand are flexible, LTR for 10 years, digital nomad visa, retirement guardian visas. But if both the entry price and maintenance are higher in Dubai, then Thailand becomes a more comfortable option for many. Compared to Bali, Thailand wins when it comes to infrastructure. International airports in Bangkok and Phuket, proper roads, really good ones, hospitals with international accreditations, and a stable economy. In 2024, Thailand's GDP grew by about 3%. In Indonesia, it's a bit higher, around 5%, but with more volatility and a greater dependence on tourism. Property ownership in Thailand is also simpler. A foreigner can buy a condo as freehold, full ownership, within the 49% quota. In Bali, though, it's usually leasehold with a rather complicated legal structure. Yes, we do have floods and occasional tremors from earthquakes, but the key areas of Bangkok aren't built on volcanoes, and building codes are adapted to local realities. Since 2007, construction has followed Japanese earthquake-resistant standards. As a result, Thailand offers easy entry, stable demand, comfortable living, moderate taxes, and various visa options. Here, investors get not just a pretty picture, but a working model, numbers, infrastructure, and rules that let you sleep soundly at night. Let's start with the main point. The Thai market is stable, but not sterile. There are nuances you need to keep in mind so you don't end up without your money, without an apartment, and with a story like, "But I was only planning to stay for a month." The first is unfinished construction. In Thailand, there are no escrow accounts for foreigners. They use an installment payment system. And if the developer falls into a financial hole, the construction can, of course, be frozen. Here's how to minimize the risk. Choose a developer with completed projects. Find out who is financing the construction. If it's one of the top 5 banks, Bangkok Bank, Kasikorn Bank, Siam Commercial, Krungthai, or Ayudhya, the chances of problems are lower. Natural disasters. On the Andaman coast in Phuket, a tsunami is possible like in 2004. In Bangkok, there can be floods and earthquakes. On the Andaman coast, a tsunami is possible like in 2004. In Bangkok, there were floods in 2011 and earthquakes in 2025. It reached Myanmar and northern Thailand. The solution: choose locations outside flood zones, get disaster insurance, and invest in projects with engineering solutions adapted to the local climate. Political and military facts. The risk is generally low, but of course it can't be ignored. In the summer of 2025, a conflict broke out on the border with Cambodia. Because of the shelling, up to 300,000 people were evacuated. 5 border checkpoints were closed, and trade losses exceeded $1 billion. A ceasefire is currently in effect, but the situation remains tense. Demand in these locations will be driven by 3 key groups: tourists, long-term residents, and investor landlords. And it will be fueled by infrastructure, economic, and cultural drivers. First of all, tourism and transportation. In 2025, Thailand expects around 35 to 39 million foreign tourists. To accommodate this flow, the gateways to the regions are being expanded. Utapao, near Pattaya, is increasing its capacity from 3 to 15 million passengers per year. Long-term plans mention even 60 million, which is comparable to the second airport in Kuala Lumpur. Phuket International is scaling up from 12.5 to 20 million per year. At the same time, the new Andaman Chowna Airport is being prepared with a capacity of up to 25 million per year. What does this mean? It means that the actual flow of people arriving, living, renting, and buying is growing. Who are these people? They're not just tourists. They're winterers, expats, relocators, digital nomads, silver age folks, yes, wealthy retirees. Pattaya attracts those who work and do business on the eastern coast. Phuket attracts those who value quality of life, the sea, healthcare, schools, wellness. Third, this is about the economy. It's the foundation of long-term demand. The Eastern Economic Corridor is a real influx of capital and jobs. Just in the first half of 2025, the Thailand Board of Investment approved projects totaling 1 trillion baht. That's 139% year-over-year, and 70% of that is foreign investment. Among the latest, VC Energy, 2 projects, a steel cord factory for tires, and the largest animal feed plant. What does this mean for the housing market? Thousands of skilled jobs, long-term rental contracts for specialists and managers, and steady demand not only in new developments but also in the secondary market around industrial and logistics clusters. And a crucial addition, the gas terminals in Rayong. This is a capacity of 9 million tons per year, comparable to the largest infrastructure sites in Asia, including the Singapore terminal. There, it's 9 to 11 million tons. And it's not just a terminal, it's the energy foundation of the Eastern Corridor. Industrially, it guarantees energy independence and creates steady demand for rental housing for specialists. The fourth element is healthcare and education, especially in Phuket. The island is moving away from the image of being just beaches and is becoming a family medical hub. Hospitals with international accreditation are there, and a major oncology center is being built, aimed at patients from all over Asia. There are strong international schools like BISP, Head Start, and UWC. These are anchors for families and affluent retirees who rent and buy for the long term and at premium rates. These are cultural magnets and events. Pattaya Business Valley is hosting Tomorrowland, the first flagship festival in Asia. The forecast is more than 1 million guests over 5 years and 21 billion bought into the region's economy. Phuket also maintains its standards with world-class events. The EDC Festival, when apartment rentals starting from 36 square meters rise from $1,000 per month to $800 per day. Royal regattas, motor shows, major showcases, film shoots like Jurassic Park. This creates peak periods of occupancy and raises the location's recognition on the global map. And the visa framework reinforces this. LTR, Smart, Retirement, Digital Nomad, and Guardian visas for parents of children enrolled in accredited schools. These are 5 to 10-year horizons for living and spending in the country. So it's not just about the season, but a foundation of stable demand for rentals year-round. So, what's the takeaway for investors? Who will sustain demand for resales and rentals? Tourists bring the high season and short-term spikes. Long stayers and expats provide medium and long-term rentals. The corporate segment of the Eastern Corridor and the approval of the Investment Council are fueling the demand funnel for years to come. Healthcare, schools, and major events create premium lifestyle demand and boost the location's brand. The conclusion is simple. Liquid and resale properties near anchors like airports, hospitals, schools, festival venues, and business clusters will outperform the market in both occupancy and growth. Prices over a 5 to 10-year horizon. It's not luck at work here, it's the system. So, how do you build it? Well, jot down the contacts. And if we're talking about my area of expertise, Bangkok, yes. If you take a closer look, Bangkok today isn't just the capital of Thailand, it's a full-fledged Asian New York. In 25 years, the population has grown from 9 million to 17 million people. That's an increase of about 74%. These are mostly migrants who work and live in the capital, which means there's a constant demand for housing, especially quality resale properties. The economy here is impressive, too. $170 billion in economic output, half of the country's entire GDP, is generated right here. The headquarters of the largest corporations, banks, fintech, and high-tech companies are located here. All of this creates a stable demand for rentals. The transportation system is growing at an absolutely unprecedented pace. There are already 275 kilometers of metro and monorail lines built. And by 2040, another 245 will be added. Yes, almost half as much again. This means that neighborhoods that are on the outskirts today will be just 10 minutes away from the central business district tomorrow. We're breaking records when it comes to foreign investment. In 2024, Thailand received $31 billion in direct foreign investment. That's the highest in the past 10 years. And in just the first 5 months of 2025, another $21 billion. The leaders are Japan, Singapore, and China. And this isn't just money for the sake of reporting, it's for real projects. Google, TikTok, and Nvidia are expanding the digital infrastructure here. Hyundai is building an electric vehicle and battery plant just outside Bangkok, worth about $28 million. It's set to launch in 2026. The real estate giant One Bangkok, a $4 billion project, has already attracted offices of BMW Group Thailand, Estée Lauder, Baker McKenzie, Lyman, and other global players with its tower. The Eastern Corridor received $30 billion in investments in just the first half of 2025. That's 139% compared to last year. 70% of that came from abroad. This includes industry, logistics, technology, and thousands of jobs, some of which will be filled in Bangkok. The city also remains the region's educational and medical hub. There are more than 40 international schools. Top hospitals too, like Bumrungrad and Samadij, both with international JCI accreditation. These are magnets for expat families and affluent Asian clients. Bangkok is also a cultural hub. Formula One will be held right in the city center from 2028 to 2032. The budget is over $1 billion. The SEA Games in 2025. That's the multi-sport championship of Southeast Asia. 12,500 athletes, 574 events. In the summer of 2025, the Jurassic World Experience has already opened, the largest immersive park in the world inspired by Jurassic Park. The investment is $33 million. As a result, we have a city where tourism, relocation, business, technology, and lifestyle all create year-round demand for housing. And if you choose a liquid property near the BTS, MRT, schools, and hospitals, it's not just an apartment. It's an asset that yields 4 to 6% annually and grows in value along with Bangkok's investment boom. If we're talking about relocation with a focus on business, then for many investors, the key factors are taxes and the visa regime. Thailand offers a fairly flexible yet structured model in this regard. The legal framework, the basic document, is the Foreign Business Act. It limits direct foreign ownership in most types of activities to 49%. There are two ways to go beyond this limit: obtaining a foreign business license, which takes time, but is possible for strategic investors, or BOI promotion, which immediately allows 100% foreign ownership in certain sectors. BOI, or Board of Investment Tools, actively promote exports, industry, IT, research and development, tourism, healthcare, and green energy. In these industries, you can fully own your business and also receive significant benefits, including exemption from corporate income tax for up to 8 years. You also get the right to purchase land for your projects, fast-track visas, and work permits for founders and key employees. Yes, there are visas for business and relocation. What options do we have? Non-immigrant B is the classic visa for running a business and working in your own company. I'm currently on this type of visa. The Smart Visa is suitable for startups, investors, and specialists in targeted sectors. It lasts up to 4 years without the need for annual renewal. The LTR visa is a 10-year residency visa for wealthy investors and qualified professionals. There's a fixed rate of 17% on all income. So, what about taxes? The corporate income tax is 20%, but if you go through the BOI, zero rates are possible for up to 8 years. Personal income tax is progressive, from 0 to 35%, but the LTR and BOI offer significant benefits, relief. DAT is 7%. The minimum charter capital for a Thai limited company with foreign participation is 2 million baht, and with BOI, from 1 million baht. Starting from 2025, the global minimum corporate tax will be introduced, 15% for multinationals with annual revenue of more than 750 million euros. Yes, this is part of a global reform. Now, let's compare with competitors. Singapore, well, has stronger infrastructure, but it's 3 to 5 times more expensive. And there's no BOI or similar 8-year tax holidays. Malaysia has cheap labor, but a limited lifestyle and fewer international schools. That's why, in my opinion, Thailand offers low costs, a high standard of living, and a flexible visa policy, which is actually a rare combination for Asia. Now, let's talk about the industry focus for Russians. For Russians and investors from the CIS, the most accessible sectors for export include agricultural products, FMCG, IT services, consulting, tourism, real estate, medical projects, management, development, and leasing. Of course, all of this is possible within the framework of licensing and reporting, but again, land ownership is restricted. But there are exceptions for investment programs that allow for 100% ownership. What causes concern? Starting from January 1st, 2024, a rule was introduced that all foreign income of any tax resident brought into Thailand is subject to taxation, regardless of the year it was earned. This burden has significantly reduced the inflow of capital, especially from expats from wealthy Asian countries. But in the summer of 2025, the authorities practically abandoned the strict measures. The new proposal allows you not to pay tax if foreign income is transferred to Thailand within 2 tax years after it is received. This will be important for capital, investments, and major relocations. And the general conclusion is that Thailand is gradually shifting its focus from avoidance to supporting investors. BOI, yes, advice, investment and visa benefits provide a favorable regime for long-term investors, and infrastructure supports growth. Tax reform brings back money from potential investors, and the minimum rate for global companies makes the country competitive and attractive. A savvy investor takes into account both visa and tax tools and can not only start a business, but do so with comfort, protection, and growth prospects. If we're thinking about buying real estate in Thailand, most likely our choice revolves around three main hotspots. These are Bangkok, Phuket, and Pattaya. Each of them is its own ecosystem, with pros and cons and a unique set of strategies for investors. Let's start with the capital, the Asian New York. 17 million people live here. That's 74% more than 25 years ago. The city generates almost half of the country's GDP. It's home to the headquarters of banks, high-tech companies, and fintech startups. The advantages are obvious: liquidity and resale, with deals happening all year round. Stable rentals for 12 months or more, with 40% annual returns in the premium segment. The infrastructure, subway and monorail, already stretches 275 kilometers, and by 2040, another 245 kilometers will be added. The best healthcare and over 40 international schools. But there are downsides too. Heavy traffic and congestion, environmental issues, smog in winter, and a high level of air pollution. The entry price starts at $110,000 for a quality apartment. Bangkok is the choice for those who want a stable expat tenant and long-term capital growth. Phuket. Now let's move south, to the island where real estate is often bought with the heart, so to speak. The pros: lifestyle, demand, the reputation of a luxury resort, yes. High returns, 7 to 12% on villas and apartments with a license. Infrastructure upgrades, airport expansions to accommodate up to 18 million passengers a year. Construction of a world-class oncology center. Well, there are downsides too, of course. Demand is seasonal, with the peak from November to March. The low season is rainy and less profitable. Typhoons, flooding during the rainy season, and a local oversupply of unlicensed condominiums. Phuket is a strategy for resort rentals, where the property operates at peak rates for 6 to 9 months a year, and the rest of the time it's either vacant, rented long-term, or used for personal living. Pattaya and Chonburi. The third location is Pattaya, just an hour and a half from Bangkok. The advantages, again, are its proximity to the capital and major airports, the Eastern Economic Corridor, and large projects like the gas terminals in Rayong, which create thousands of jobs. Stable rental demand from engineers and managers working in the Eastern Economic Corridor. The yield there is about 4 to 6% per year. Affordable prices, basically starting from $45,000 for a studio. And the downsides? Well, the environment, yes, the sea in the center is dirty, and the noise and nightlife aren't for everyone. The quality of new developments is quite mixed. During peak season, there are traffic jams. In the low season, there's a drop in tourist traffic. Pattaya is better suited for budget investments and long-term rentals to specialists from the Eastern Corridor, or for buying premium properties on the first line. So, to sum up, Bangkok is the heart of the economy, with year-round rental demand. Phuket is a premium resort with high rates, but it's seasonal. Pattaya is a compromise between budget and stable demand from the Eastern Corridor. A smart strategy isn't to choose either or, but to build a portfolio. The capital offers stability, while the resorts provide high returns, and the Eastern Corridor ensures long-term rental demand. In Thailand, real estate transactions for foreigners are a bit of a different world. There are no escrow accounts for non-residents here, and no familiar bank protections. If in Europe and Russia the bank holds the money until you get the keys, in Thailand everything is built on trust. So the main question is, how do you check who you're giving your money to? First, is it an agent or an agency? Ask them for their company registration documents. In Thailand, all companies are registered with the Department of Business Development, or DBD. From the company extract, You'll see how many years the company has been around, who the founders are, and whether it even has the right to work in real estate. If you're dealing with a foreigner, check if they have a work permit. This is important not just from a legal standpoint, but also to understand that they're not here temporarily, they're in it for the long haul. Contact the developer's sales department directly and ask if this agent really represents the project. It takes 5 minutes, but it could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And of course, read reviews on Google, Facebook, and specialized forums. Don't just look at the number of stars, pay attention to the details. The real gems are usually in the comments. And a true professional will show you not only the best options, but also provide clear comparison tables for competitors, prices, rentals, and profitability. Second, let's talk about lawyers. Again, the same logic applies here: independence and verification. A lawyer should not be an employee of the agency that's selling you the property. You can check their company in the same DVD system. A good lawyer will always, first of all, check the property title, what's called a CHA note, and the history of the property, as well as verify the quota to make sure foreigners are allowed to buy, so you don't end up in a situation where the foreign quota is already used up. For example, they'll also analyze the contracts, especially if it's a lease, to make sure there aren't any tricky clauses about automatic renewals, payments, taxes, or fees, and so on. They'll check the license if you plan to rent out the property short-term, and you can also write to the developer and ask if they've worked with this lawyer before. This will show how much the lawyer is actually in the loop. And most importantly, there's the developer. In Thailand, as I mentioned before, there is no mandatory escrow for foreigners. This means you pay directly, and your protection is the developer's reputation. Look into their track record. How many projects have they completed? What condition are the buildings in after 5 or 10 years? And what do owners have to say in their reviews? Be sure to check whether the project has an environmental assessment and a construction license. Find out who is financing the construction. If it's only sales at the start, the risk is higher. Large projects backed by banks or investment funds are more stable. And of course, pay attention to the actual construction schedule. Ask what happens if the project is delayed and whether there is any compensation for that. In Thailand, transactions for foreigners require extra attention. Check every agent, lawyer, and developer. Don't hesitate to send inquiries, request documents, and ask for confirmations. There's no banking safety buffer here. That's why you are the main person responsible for overseeing your own deal.